On a bend of the River Wear and north of Durham stands Finchale Priory. This site of hermitage was established by Saint Godric in 1115 CE, who lived on the site up until his death in 1170. After his death, the remains that are visible today were established. Born to a poor family in the village of Walpole, Norfolk, Godric was a travelling pedlar from an early age, before becoming a successful merchant and sailor. On his travels he traded with Denmark, Flanders, and Scotland. He went on several pilgrimages throughout his lifetime, including to the holy city of Jerusalem in around 1102. Of the same year there exists an entry believed to be of Godric, which is recorded as taking King Baldwin I of Jerusalem to Jaffa, part of modern-day Tel Aviv, after his defeat in battle. Godric visited the shrine of Santiago de Compostela in northern Spain on his journey back from Jerusalem by sea, making him the earliest known Englishman whose pilgrimage to Santiago can be dated. On his pilgrimages and visits to the Farne Islands off the Northumbrian coast and the holy island of Linsfarne, he would have heard of tales of St. Cuthbert's life as a hermit. This must have left an impression on Godric, as in around 1104 he abandoned seafaring to become a hermit himself. Living in caves and in the woods initially, he later settled with another hermit at Walshingham in Upper Weardale. Godric made one last pilgrimage to Jerusalem after his companion's death before returning to northeast England. Hearing of Finchale in around 1112 while living in Durham, with the approval of the landowner, Bishop of Durham, he settled there. His first hermitage was probably around a mile upriver from Finchale, a spot known as Saint Godric's Garth, before moving to the site where the ruins of Finchale Priory are today. From here he spent the last 60 years of his life, where he built himself a turf roof hut and a wooden chapel which contained a crucifix and an image of the Virgin Mary. He prayed immersed in cold water in the river or a barrel set in the floor of his chapel, fasted frequently, wore a hair shirt and chainmail, and slept with a stone as a pillow. Needless to say, his life as a hermit was severe. With these self-imposed hardships, Godric was also beaten and robbed by marauding Scots in about 1138, and barely survived a flood in 1150 when the Wear burst its banks. In surviving both, he built a new church dedicated to St. John the Baptist, which he linked to his earlier chapel with a thatched walk. Within the first few years of his arrival to Finchale, his brother, sister and mother came to live nearby, so his life was not lived in total solitary. There were many notable individuals who are said to have consulted with him, including Pope Alexander III and King William I, the Lion of Scotland, who visited in person. In his later years, Godric submitted to the authority of Durham Cathedral Priory. As his health waned, one or more monks of the Durham monks came to live with him. After 8 years bedridden in his little church and surviving on milk, he died around the age of 100 on the 21st of May 1170. He was laid to rest against the north wall of his church, where his burial place is marked by a cross in the grass. Durham community sent 2 monks after Godric's death, Reginald and Henry, to occupy his hermitage. In 1196 it became a priory in its own right, when the monks of Durham persuaded Henry de Poucet, the son of Bishop Hugh de Poucet, to endow it with possessions. It prospered as a place of pilgrimage, having 10 monks, and a grant in 1278 specified there should be 5 additional ones to help entertain the pilgrims and the poor who flocked to Godric's shrine. A new church was built around Godric's old church while it still stood. However, his older chapel, dedicated to St. Mary, was rebuilt on its existing foundations and linked to the new church. This new church took several decades to build and may not have begun until the 1230s. During the first half of the 14th century, many monasteries in northern England reduced in size from lack of income through years of warfare between England and Scotland. At the time, there seems to have been only around 5 monks living in Finchale. The buildings themselves were in poor state. The response from the monks was to reduce the size of both their church and other buildings in the 1360s, while renovating the prior's house, as well as concentrating on Finchale's role. It may have been serving as a retreat for the monks of Durham for some time, and Finchale continued doing so until the dissolution of monasteries, also known as the suppression. The dissolution of monasteries was a set of administrative and legal processes where King Henry VIII disbanded convents, friaries, and monasteries in England, Wales, and Ireland, seizing their income and assets. Little is known of what happened to the buildings after Finchale Priory was suppressed in 1538. Parts remained in use but must have fallen into ruin, while others had their stone robbed for nearby farm buildings. Some buildings were landscaped through demolition in the 1700s to improve the site's appearance during a time where ruins of romantic landscapes became popular. Antiquarian interest grew in the 1800s, which led to repair and conservation efforts. The Office of Works, a predecessor of English Heritage, took the priory into its guardianship in the 1920s. Sir Charles Pearce supervised the excavation and clearance of fallen debris, as well as tracing the foundation of Godric's chapel of St. John and uncovering a stone coffin of Godric. The coffin was 1.57 meters, or 5 foot 2 inches long, a reminder of the wasted frame of his life of hardship and illness. His remains are, however, long since vanished, and Godric's final resting place is unknown. The priory has evolved dramatically since its inception by Godric, with its turf roof hut. What stands today continues to be preserved for future generations by English Heritage. The site itself is open to the public and free to visit.